I love YouTube. YouTube has actually been a very great venue for me to get my information out, my products out into the marketplace. And we make a lot of sales on automation with YouTube. Okay. So my son's going to be putting this recording right here that we're doing on his channel. And then I'm going to be taking time almost every month to have an interview with a guest speaker. And I've done this in the past. I've actually done this format in the past, but I wanted to start doing it more and more. So let's see. We're just going to let in Mel and to the party. And you don't have to have your camera on if you don't want, Mel. This is just a different format than our normal Zoom. So anyway, again, welcome. This is a coffee talk with Rob. Rob, what do you think about working with your mom? Number one. That's the number one question probably a lot of people get. Okay. So you can answer that, and then I will go through the other questions as we go. So what do you think about working with your mom? Like, you don't work for me. I just want people to understand he has his own home-based business. Okay. He makes his own money. He pays for his own stuff, like literally everything. Okay. And I even had him purchase Get Fearless Freedom. So I want people to understand something. I don't give my son any breaks. He works for everything that he's got. My husband and I we're pretty adamant about that when we were raising our kids, you know. And so I want them to know that, you know, even over the years they've seen me make money, but I want you to give the perspective from your standpoint about that.
Well, it's great to be on the podcast. This is our first one, and we're going to have many, many more. I wanted to get a podcast going this year. It was a goal of mine, and it was a goal of my working with my mom way back because I didn't want to work a 9 to 5. And if we roll back the clock about 7 years ago, December, and I'm looking back on my memories in front of me. I have my computer in front of me. I had this amazing setup that I've done now, and it's really awesome. Especially tomorrow, we're gonna go, well, in the f near future, I'm gonna have some cool lighting behind me and everything. And working with my mom has been really great, actually. The freedom that I've gotten from everything, just the knowledge that I've gained, but also really what I've really liked about it all was that I didn't have to wake up and know that I feel pressure because of a 9 to 5. And in 2017, it was like throughout the year, I pretty much was like on and off part-time with work. And then times I'd pick up kind of full-time with Verizon. And that year, 2017, was actually a really amazing year. It was a very amazing year for a lot of things with my mother and working kind of in the like background with her. And we started to really like find ourselves as entrepreneurs back really around that year because there was just a lot of things in the space with marketing that we found, and they did a lot of trips, and I started to find myself like, wait a minute, I'm working this job, and I really am not getting the full freedom that my parents are getting, right? And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. And they went out to London, guys. I never got a chance to go to London.
Right?
And I told my parents after they went to that trip, they're like, well, it was they had a phenomenal time, right? Really good time. But then, like with that, my boss actually told me, well, why didn't you go on the trip? I go, you told me to work. So it's like
Yep.
I got real mad actually. That was right around right around July. No, it was a fall time. I'm thinking other dates, but it was right around the fall time, November. And I'm just like, wait a minute. You know what? I got to put my 2 weeks in. And it was right around December, mid-December, I started to just like, all right, that's it. But mind you, I get the 7 years as a number one. I love the number seven, but it really was a turning point year where I'm like, okay, that has been 7 years ago, and that's why I've been in the industry for seven, because I did a lot of work in the background for my mother. But full time and going in from December has been really great because I looked at it as kind of a growing pains I had to go through by
Hmm.
quitting my job. You understand, this is the psychology of working with my mother, is it's more of like, you get into an online business, right? And then you're wondering, to answer the question, really, what it's like. Well, I'm going to tell you that you have to really get out of your own mind, really, when you work for your own self. And for a whole year, I was in a very, very, very major big funk in 2018. And until 2019, it was until that year I started going, wait a minute, I'm really going to start truly, truly like full timing it. And that's where it was like, 7 years, yeah, but like, people have to realize when you work with your mother, you work with your husband or wife or partner or whatever, you have to push past those barriers because it's all in the head. That's all it's at. And too many people make too much out of it. They make too much of online marketing. They make too much out of a lot of things. So we had to push past it. And I personally had to think through, wait a minute, why am I thinking like this when there's people making millions?
Right.
Why am I thinking like this when people are, getting hundreds of thousands of subscribers on YouTube? And here I am, and people think, my gosh, Robert, you're here and you're there. And I'm like, well, you guys have no clue. I'm not even close to really where I want to meet my goals, but I'm also very much further than most people that never took that action. So working with my mother's been a very big motivational point in my life, and a very, like, you can absolutely go for it, but not the typical parent telling you can go for it. She literally pushed me and pushed me in and kept, like, fueling the fire, even when I didn't even
Telling you
think
that
it
you could
was.
do it. Hmm.
Exactly. And, with these podcasts, we want to make sure that, you guys are not only being entertained and you learn and grow from us, and if you haven't been in the community yet, and this is all on recording, you want to jump in, you want to get going, because the thing is that I see is there's a lot of like rah-rah, but there's no real like rah-rah once you get in the program, right? Once you get into a program, it's like it doesn't really help you. So that's why we wanted to make it unique and different. We wanted to
Yes.
make a community where when I worked with my mom, you're going to see the light too. And that's exactly it right there.
Well, he saw the consistency, and I think we'll go back a little bit there to 2017 when I personally was frustrated because I wanted a partner, I wanted someone that would have as much, passion as me helping other people. And so, when I was looking at my career of online, it's really tough to get anyone that's consistent. So along come Rob, and every single day since we launched GFF, the relaunch in February, for example, every single day he's been helping me. And we've literally been back to back. So we've done over 70 some Zooms since we relaunched the new edition of GFF. In 2019, I had this dream of doing communities and Zooms and things like that. But the problem with this industry is that so many people will think that the next shiny object is what is going to make them money. Whereas if they would just realize that staying in one place, learning it, getting people to know that you're simply serious about it, you're going to make multiple six figures a year. And that's one of my things that I had to take away with a coach. I actually hired a coach, my own personal coach. Yes, I have my own coach. And that's one thing that I'm always looking at her. I'm just like, okay, but you're still doing the same thing. Well, yes, of course, because it made me $1.3 million last year. And I'm just like, oh my God, aha moment. Like, why are people always jumping around from program to program to program, whereas with one program you shouldn't get bored, and there's no possible way you could get bored with Get Fearless Freedom, because there's always something to talk about. So we're using this platform to help people earn the 200, 500, $1,000, and getting them to a simple 7-minute video. Now, this would not be happening if Rob did not help me with the video in Vegas. This would not be a community if it was not for my son. I don't know how to put together a video. I do not know how to edit a video. He will show you his actual back office of his whatever editor. I have no clue. Like, I literally have no clue. I would not even be here if it wasn't for my son. So I get passionate about it because there's so many people now joining, and especially because we launched a callback service. Okay, and I'll explain that how that works, because some people were a little bit like not sure how that works. But honestly, if I'm going to take my time, calling back your leads, I'm taking a percentage of the sale. Okay. So, but it's not as much as you think. That other companies take 50 to 60% of a sale. But anyway, we wanted everybody to understand that, yes, my son started out somewhere too, and he's growing like all of us. We're all growing together with this community. But the other question I had was, so when you were looking at digital marketing, you wanted something simple. You didn't want something where your members were going to have to try to figure everything out, and what do I do and how do I do Facebook. So just tell us recently what you've just done for the community and what Facebook training you added, because some people will want to know about that.
Yeah, I really like this platform of questions. I really love questions, and I like to be there to help, answer them. And what I really found with it was is a pain point with a lot of people. So they get in programs, right? And then there's really and it's really true. Like I've witnessed it time and time and time again, where they join and then that's it. Like that after that, they're like, okay, congrats, and then they move on. Well, what we wanted to do with GFF and my newest recent thing is not only have added new 2024 Facebook training, which is really good. Like I'm talking like it goes through everything that you ever need. And a lot of it maybe for people that are existing marketers, they're like, all right, that's great, but you're always going to pick up something new. And then with this new setup service that we do with our community, I go in and I do either existing member of what we have in our community or people that are brand new. And I go in and I literally help like totally set up their entire system. And so what's great about GFF is not only is it easy to begin with, but I make sure that the new beginner, the person that has never worked online, or someone like just tonight I had another new client. He just, he got my service, and
From
it
Canada,
literally
Chris.
is, yeah, from Canada, yeah. And I always want to make sure, like, people are literally from A to Z set up, and not like, half in it. Like I make sure that it's a detailed, everything that they could ever think of. And so, like, what I started to find with
Because
setups,
most people don't want to do the techie part, just like me.
yeah,
Like, I
yeah,
didn't want to do
people,
the techie part, but I just wanted to make the money. Like, right?
right, and
Like,
working
just like
online.
Jerry Maguire, right, Rob? Show me the money. Where's the freaking money? So, like
Right. Well,
I
that's
said, I didn't
exactly.
want to do the video. I mean, I resisted a lot of this stuff. I hope a lot of people realize I resisted a lot of stuff, but because my son works, because my son works with me, it gave me the confidence. It gave me the belief that I can do this. Like at my age of 56, I can do this. You know what I mean? So, like a lot of my target market, which is my age categories, 40s, 50s, 60s, they're just like, Tammy, if you can do it, then I can do it. So that's why we have Rob now. And he's literally like helping people. He's got 2 or 3 people a day that he's helping, and he's got it systemized too, which is super cool. But that's one of the things I think that stops people, is they're not quite sure what to do, where to go, and how to proceed, you know? And that's why I think, Rob, I think that's why it's important for people to hear your background. Why you were just like for a long time, like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. And now you found your passion here. And I think that's what a lot of people realize, is that when you get into a home-based business, you're not getting into GFF alone, number one. When you get into a home-based business, you got to love what you're doing. And so for me, luckily, Rob loves techie stuff. And it's for Tammy, luckily, he likes techie stuff. For Chris, luckily, he likes techie stuff. So like for all of our members, we realize we can rely on Rob for his techie stuff, right? Because as the 2024 progresses, as we add reels, faceless videos, you name it, all the buzzwords, we'll have the training for everybody. You know what I mean? We'll be able to add it and have the training because we're learning it as we go. So things are changing. So Rob, can you express anything else that you want people to know from where you started and then how you became full time to now?
Yeah.
Like what steps did you have to go through? Because it's all mental. I've told
Yeah.
people this all the time. It's all mental.
So I've always wanted to talk like this on Zooms, but it's now podcasts when it comes to this format.
Right.
Really the number one thing I ever got out of like starting to work with you was in the community, but really what it was actually all mental. It really began mental and then it just became spiritual, it's physical, but it really was mental. So it was my head. I don't know what it was. There was some like it was like brain fog, essentially. It was like brain fog. And every time my mom would tell me, and I'm gonna go back into 2017, 2018, when she told me, well, let's do this, I immediately, and I don't know if anyone can relate on this podcast, but I immediately go, wait a minute, oh, the people I'm gonna reach, this, that, what I
I'm
literally
scared.
immediately I had every single
What are they gonna
thing.
say to me?
You're
Yep.
talking a son that's been around entrepreneurship for, 20 to 30 years of his life, and then I still had that roadblock. Now, I had to peel it back and go, wait a minute. Okay. So there's people that actually, anyone great and successful has had to get past their own cognitive dissonance of their own mind. So even on this podcast right now, you're thinking, okay, I'm on the podcast because I want to learn more, or I want to, maybe try to better my life in 2024. But what you're looking at is you can see a million examples in front of you how it's done. But until I began going, wait a minute, it's in my head. I know I'm worth it. I'm going to actually go for it. And knowing that a lot of people don't really always take action, and so that's actually where it made my light bulb go off and wait, oh, I'm going to take action. So that's where I mainly started was Facebook, and social media was Instagram, Facebook, like in the background for her. And I started getting on, and what I did with my account with Facebook was I actually started doing some like funny stuff. So I do enjoy funny comedian, like I do really love humor. Mom knows when we watch a movie, I actually run out, and I'm gonna just talk to the crowd here. I actually get out of the theater if it's a horror movie trailer. I actually jump out, Tammy. So I get out of there quick. I'm like,
Yeah.
I ain't gonna watch that junk. And so I go immediately out, and mom texts me after, okay, we're good. Now you can come in the
Yeah,
movie.
he will not
I've
watch
always
the
like
previews of
I've
any horror show. No.
no way. I always like comedy and funny, like funny or like action films, things like that. And that's actually really my personality trait is where it was like, you know, if I'm gonna go for a thing, I'm actually gonna go for it really good. And mom actually calls it in a way like, in a form in a way like OCD, but I actually had to overcome that actual own trait, by the way, too, where I was like, okay, when I look at things, I'm gonna like Facebook, for instance. When I first built it, I was like obsessed. I mean, I made sure I knew the algorithm. I made sure I had friends. I literally messaged people. I would go, "Why aren't you loving my post?"
He gets
And
so
people,
mad.
I'd
I'd
get
be
so
like,
mad.
don't worry about it.
I'd be so obsessed. And then I started to find in my own mind, hey, everyone has a life. Everyone has their own thing. And so that's
Yep.
why I had to really get when I began working with her, I had to find a way to make it relatable to people. How can I take my own, problems and things that I went through? How can I make it relatable? And that's when I began marketing online. And I started to just go, all right, I have this. Now, hear me out. Hear me out. When I post, and I posted way back and I started doing, mom goes, Rob, you have a great audience. You have these people and you have people that are following you, but I want to make you have a leap of faith. And I go, "Oh, what is it? What is it?" She goes, post a business post.
Yeah.
Uh, 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 uh,
So many of
I
our
go,
members are
I
so
go,
worried about it.
I go, oh no. I go, wait a minute, wait a minute. this is where it got real. And she goes, look, you're really, really great in the background. You're making everything look good in the community. And this is where I
Oh
started
yeah, I
really
showed
honing her
everybody your images
20,
on Facebook and
20,
on.
yeah. But really, when she said, okay, now actually talk about your business. And I go, oh, wow, oh no. And so I did it. And
Yep.
kid you not, I'm not kidding you. And this is legit and true. I actually got a sale in the first post.
Yeah.
This is legit. This is true. It's not
Happens
making
all
it
the
up.
time.
And
Happens all the
so
time when
I
when I do
go,
it.
wait a minute, mom. I go, you mean that guy actually liked what my thing is and all my funny posts and making thing, but he wants to know that I'm making money as well. And mom goes, yes. So we got in a three-way chat, and this is one of our things back then we were in. And mom knows this, and it was one of my birth on my birthday. Remember that, mom? It was
Yes, a
like
two
really
thousand
when I
dollar sale.
it was $1,000,
Mhm.
thousand in my
1,000 for
pocket.
you, 1,000 for
Yeah,
me. 'Cause I
1,000 for
closed
mom,
him.
1,000 for me. And so I was like,
See,
oh,
I
okay.
even charge him when I close a deal.
And so I was like, okay, this is where, all right, I actually and I was so afraid because I was like, okay, I got the money, I'm gonna make positive. He has a good setup and everything. And I was going through all these mind, and I was like, oh my God, it's $1,000. I just got it. And I started going through all these things, and I go, wait a minute. Money is just energy. It's just a currency. It's just a form of transfer that he believed in it. Obviously, he's going to give you money, Tammy. He's going to give you, Christina, money, Terrence money. And so I actually
Exchange
started getting
value for a digital product.
exactly. So I started learning digital marketing more, and I'm like, wait a minute. It's just like anything. People go to Costco or Sam's Club or wherever, and you're buying that turkey, you're buying that cheese or fruit or whatever. And do you think the people at the farmers feel bad that they actually no, they're making their money and it's also going around.
Service.
Everyone gets paid, the gas place, etc. So I started looking at it like that. And I was like, you know what? I am worth it. I'm worthy of that income, but I'm also knowing that I can do it again.
Well,
And
when
I
I
can go.
had to say to Rob, I say, listen, if they're not going to spend money with you, they're going to spend money with someone else. And so I have
Mm,
to say that to my team a lot, to my members a lot. I'm like, listen, if you're not emailing them, which I email my members for my members, but I'm saying if you're not doing it, someone else is.
it's a good
So
point.
when my mentor told me that, because there's all sorts of communities out there, there's all sorts of online opportunities. But when they said if you're not in their inbox, which means their email every day, there's a science to this. So I think that's a good point, Rob, is like you didn't realize, oh my gosh, yeah, I can also collect sales, not just mom. So I want people to understand something here is that, with Rob, yeah, he's always in the background doing the Zooms, the Monday Zooms and things like that, but he's also worthy of collecting money and sales. So that's how you became full time.
Yeah.
So we've coached a lot of people. It's like, okay, write down every single expense that you have every single month, like even down to the toothpaste. Write down what your expense is. And you take your budget, what your car payment is, what your insurance is, what your rent, mortgage, everything like that. You add it all up. And you say, how many GFF sales do I need to make in order to cover and quit? This is what we used to teach loan officers all the time when we were mortgage brokers back in our 40s. We took a gentleman that was literally, Rob remembers, he was little, he was still going to high school, but we took him, grade school, but we took him from a 12,000 a year income as a cook. Okay. Couldn't stand it. Was living in New York. Okay. Took him from a cook making $12,000 a year and said, okay, if you make this many deals in a mortgage, you can quit your job. It's
Hmm.
the same thing here. If you need $10,000 a month, you get 10 people. If you need $5,000 a month, it's only 5 people. 10 people at 500. I mean, it's simple, simple math. And this is what Rob said. He goes, you know what, Mom? I will never have to have a job again if I make this many sales with GFF. You know?
Yes. Yeah, so with working online has been like the way I look at it is it's given me the ability to work on myself. So
Yes.
it's always
Expand
about
on that. Like, what do you mean? Like, I know a lot of people always talk about time freedom, but what have you been
yeah.
able to accomplish in the past year alone?
Yeah, that's a good question. So really what I began really working on is because the freedom GFF has actually given me, and I knew I was adding value. I was worth that money, right? I was doing the things for the community. That's the thing. So I started, it wasn't January of last year, it was actually March. And it was March of 2023. And I one day, I don't know what it was just like a hit in the head, hit in the brain. And I go, you know what? I'm actually gonna get really fit. I was like, I'm actually gonna go for it. And I don't know what the entail of that is, but like I'm just gonna go for it and I'm gonna just keep going. And so my journey was back in 2022. So let's go back to August 2022.
Okay.
My top weight was 218 pounds. That's my highest, by the way. That
Okay.
was insane. And I don't know how to convert it to Canadian kilograms, but whatever it was, like Chris, you probably already understand it. Well, anyway, I was like, what the? Like, I mean, now you mind you, guys are different, right? Guys, you can't really tell sometimes, and so I was like, okay, and I started just like really just like kind of like eating healthier, but cutting back a lot. And then I'm like, I'm not really having the time freedom because I was having to like do some oddball stuff. And, like there's been times, Mom, where, I'm like, I didn't even really know if I was gonna be in this race the whole time.
Right.
And with working online. I've been online for 7 years, but like I'm talking, you know how we go, right? It's like this.
Yep.
But finally understood the worth in that. But then here's really fun, the fun part is I started just dropping it. I got under 200 and I was like, all right, that's great, that's great. And so I went from a pant size 36 down to 29. I have a 29 or yeah, 28, 29. And now I'm about 155. And I'm just like, thank the Lord above. I was like, man, I'm so excited. I
Hmm.
feel amazing, but guess what? It was me. It was me that took the action, really. You can think whatever you want to think, but really it was ultimately the physical effort of you as a human being to do that. So, yeah, that was a time for
In other words,
freedom
it
that.
started within you.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
this is what I tell people a lot. And, people come to me for marketing advice, but it seems like I've turned into more than that. And I've been a mentor and coach for a lot of people. But I tell people all the time that until you feel that hurt, until you actually feel the hurt, like me, I felt the hurt. I was laying there, just like it's a similar story to Rob's. But I mean, I heard the doctor telling me, listen, Tammy, if you don't do something, you're not going to be around for your family. That was that bad. So I tell people all the time, us humans are really strange. Like we will not do something unless we absolutely have to. And in a home-based business, it's easy to join something, then it's easy not to do anything with it. But
That's
what
true.
Rob has proven over time and time and time again is he's posting simple ads. He's doing his 60 minutes a day lead generation. He does his Facebook now, YouTube, and
Yep.
Craigslist. And it's not hard places to go or advertise. We're doing a co-op. Like we give so many resources for people. If they're not wanting to do online, then they can do offline. We had a lady that on Monday didn't want to do anything to do with social, and I says, I don't blame you. So these are some of the things that I wanted to learn that I needed to know when I first started. But with Rob's journey, not only has it made him feel healthier and have more energy, he's got me out walking today. I was walking with him, but it keeps me motivated into a point of consistency is by having my son help me and work alongside me.
Yeah,
Um,
amazing the like I like to add to the question, but also just to help. And thank you guys for being on the podcast,
yeah, this
listening.
is our first one, Coffee
It's
Talk. Do you
great.
guys like it so
Appreciate
far?
yeah, the time for us. I appreciate it. It really is very, very nice of you guys.
Hmm.
But what I like to really add, and I talk differently on podcasts. I want to like change the tone and more like a really great flow versus a Zoom, right? But
Yes.
number one thing is like for me is like mom's like, man, Rob, you actually get on camera. I'm like, yeah, I get on camera. And I get it, now everyone wants to get on it and everything, but it's just like for me, I kind of started getting the confidence behind me. And it was like I think it was Amanda, my sister, telling me one day. I said, Amanda, this is why it's podcast, right? This is not the Zoom stuff. And Amanda goes, you have this like confidence about you I've never like actually witnessed ever. And I go, well, I don't know what it is. Like women smile at me, they want to talk, guy friends want to like hang out all the time. And I go, isn't it amazing when you actually just become the light instead of looking at the darkness in the world? You start to actually just help and you start to actually just literally, like get rid of the garbage, I call it, and you just like there you go. I mean, I have my things. We all have our human things, right? You can get on a Zoom, but ultimately, as long as you got that little bit of like, I call it hope, and you have that little bit like, all right, I'm gonna change it out. I'm gonna like think it through,
I'm going to
and
invite more people to the Zooms. I'm going to do more lead generation.
exactly.
Yep.
So you start to
You get that
do
momentum.
you get a momentum of under one person and then you're helping them and then boom there you're onto so that's where with entrepreneur like talking
Yep.
about business, that's where it really changed for me. Was yes, okay, working on physical health, but it was really because the freedom of working online. I mean, you're talking, I'm on top of a mountain in Las Vegas, and mom knows this. I mean, I texted her, I'm like, hey, I'm just whatever. And I'm on top of a freaking mountain. It goes bloop like this. And I go, okay. It
Hmm.
goes $500 GFF. I
Yep.
go, wow, that's powerful.
So you started to
$500.
understand like the profits versus wages in life. So you
Mm-hmm.
went from to kind of summarize and wrap this up for why people, when I sent it out and we're doing this podcast, is he went literally from thinking he was going to always have to have a job to then realizing because of the internet and the systems that we have is to say, wow, I just made 500, a hunk of $500, a hunk of $1,000. I can actually pay ahead on my bills. I mean, that's why I think I'm looking at some of the questions we had here that we had brought up. But so in other words, so you took what you couldn't stand about your Verizon, because I don't know if some people know his story. And it scared me to death as a mom. He calls me
Yeah.
up. We were living in New York. He says, "You know what, Mom? I just got held up by knife point." That was his determining. I call it the pivot point. Can anyone put in this chat the pivot point of your life? Of when you knew that you had to make a change of something? Because I remember sitting there in the hospital with my family, by the way, when I had to change myself. Does anyone else remember a pivot point where they had to absolutely do something? If they didn't do it, they knew that they were going to just like perish? Like, I'm not joking. Like, sometimes there's people that come to us and say, I got to make this work. I'm like, all right, then write down, why do you need to make this work? Like, write
Mhm.
it down, like
Yes.
writing it down. So I had Rob write it down. And I said, what is your goal? When do you want to get out of your job? Like, you had that profession and you're very good at it. I remember your boss was like, kudos, man, you're the best salesperson and you're really, really techie. But what was it that you when you really finally said, that's it, enough is enough? Do
Yeah,
you remember the date? Because usually people do.
I typically, yes, typically it was right around December like 15th, 16th was when 2017.
Okay.
And it was mainly right around there because it was us pushing snow
Yep.
in, in New York and me having to get out of the driveway and everything.
Yep.
And it was like, whoa, what
I
is going
finally
on?
said, Rob, we got to make it to Arizona. We got to make it out west.
Exactly. And I was like, this is like, I mean, literally, I'm like, and they're getting mad at me because I'm not on time and I'm like I'm about 20 miles away from the work. I was like literally putting on to almost 20 to 40 miles per day on a vehicle. And I think a lot of people can relate maybe to that, driving back and forth, things like that, or your husband or wife or whatever is putting on that mileage. It's like after a while, you have to ask yourself, you're only building up that person, that company. And then when I remember the boss of Verizon, after that whole thing happened, and this was, mind you, I'm going to give you the dates, but right around the end of November is when that whole thing happened. And
Okay.
with Verizon, what happened is these three like younger guys, younger boys. I call them boys because that's how they acted. But they were about 16 to 19, and I was like 22 to 21 range. I was just into 22, I believe, just going back. But anyway, literally they came in and one distracted me, one asked me about the new iPhone, etc. And I'm like, you don't need to ask me about the new iPhone 30 minutes to close. You got
Mm,
online. You have online. And that's when they got a little testy and they started one guy he took his knife and clipped off the prepaid phone, those prepaid phones and the Verizon and AT&T or whatever and all that. And anyway, I got distracted and the other kids are like, doing their thing. And before you know it, I had like three phones out. I didn't even know about it. And they were all like dummy phones or some sort of phone that's like a mock phone. The point is they stole from us. And it was like, I think it was like $900 or $1,100 and like the prepaids. And then it was like, all the other stuff. So they literally were able to do that. I didn't really recognize it. But mind you, I'm very well aware, I was situationally aware, but they still were able to pull that off. And guess
yep.
what? Here's the best part. Yes, that company you guys see in America, Verizon, yep, the one everywhere. Guess what? They didn't care. And they never changed their policy with closing of one person. They never moved it to two. And they only kept it at one person closing. And they never listened to me. I went to corporate and I said, you guys making billions, you want to change it out to have two people watch the store? And they're like, nah, no, whatever. Anyway, and that was my pivotal. Really, it was basically the Thanksgiving time.
Okay.
That was really one.
Okay. Yeah, I think we all can say that, the older we get, the more things and experiences that we all, accumulate. So, I mean, but the beauty of it is Rob knows that, unless we have a major outage, then he always has the internet to plug into. And so when I teach people this all the time, I've taught millions of families probably now from different opportunities over the 12 years because it's like a little ripple. And when you throw a little, thing in the water, like an ocean, it ripples. So there's other, people that have gone off and created their own stuff. But so maybe not millions, maybe tens of thousands of people I've helped. So, I mean, but the thing is that you realize there's only three steps. And I used to always make this so complicated in my head. So when with any internet marketing, you already know that you send someone to a landing page or a capture page, you're always going to collect the lead. Then you send them to a simple webinar or a video. And then the email does a follow up, and that's it. You collect a decision. And so when you think about all these other systems and all these other gurus out there trying to teach this, trying to teach that, I always say baloney to that, because so I told Rob, I said, this is the simple thing. All you got to do is advertise your website, just log in. This is what I tell people all the time. I think I'm a parrot, this just says over and over and over again. But it's really true when you get traffic to your website. We've had over 100 and some people in one day today, for example. When we start really going, when it starts to be the end of January, February, March is when the busy, busy, busy time of the year starts. Because the first 2 weeks of January, people are trying to figure out what do they want to do. What do they want to do in 2024? What's my New Year's resolution? And everybody's so super excited the first week. We see the biggest people, or excuse me, the biggest event, the first Zoom. And then it gets a little tapered off. And then we have to realize, oh, that's right, I made a New Year's resolution that
That's a
2024 is
perfect
going to be
point.
different. So
That's
how
a
are you making 2024 different? What different goals are you trying to accomplish this year besides your YouTube channel, by the way?
I'm gonna answer that, but I'm also gonna add to the point of this, and I think a lot of people
Okay.
can relate on the replay, and this is currently in the room. I call
Okay.
it the room, right?
Mm-hmm.
the virtual. The thing is, this is what you're gonna have to ask yourself. You have to know, like I was telling my mom, I was like, we're looking at this beautiful West Coast. We got, California, you got Vegas, you got Arizona, Utah, you name it, we can go anywhere. And when I was like, that's a perfect for the mind. That's perfect for the psyche. Like it's perfect. But what about those folks that we really, really love and enjoy in the community that are stuck in the, I call it environment of they got this going on in their town and they got this like house that they're grateful for, but it's like they look outside and it's a crappy area or whatever. And I'm always trying to figure out how can they get out of it? How can they rise out of that mind? And what I started to look at was it really is in the mind because ultimately when I look around as it's a very good example when I go on my walks or whatever, and I kind of you ever just get like a vibe, you're like, that ain't right. And I think we all get that, right? When you're walking by a home or whatever, you're like, all right, I gotta kind of like move on. So you have to be personally, you have to have such a higher elevation to you that you rise out in business and rise out of your spouse telling you it won't work or whoever, your again, girlfriend, boyfriend, partner, whatever. If your spouse is telling you, I don't have no one, I'm really actually glad right now, to be honest. That elevates me, and that's very high, very, very high up in
Yeah,
the
no
top.
one tells you what to do or
Yeah,
whatever,
right.
or
And
gives you any opinion.
exactly. But when you have a spouse that here you're like working on your laptop and you're believing it, you are believing it. But then your environment around you is like, telling, hey, you know what, you can never do that, Tammy. You can never do that, Christina. When people do that, you know what? You can literally get a little virtual, take the couple fingers down and give them that because honestly, it's you. You want to be the rise, you want to rise out and become an amazing businessman or woman. And so the people that have been in our community and they've kind of watched us for years and years and years, or they just keep man, okay, next year, 20, I've had so many people, 2024 is my year. Well, I'm looking around and there's never really been much going on and changing. So it's like it doesn't take a couple weeks to always change, but my point is they still are in their rut. And now I'm figuring out human psychology is that it's because they haven't clicked a new thought. They put a new thought into their head and grew it into a thing that's better. And that's why with mom and I, we were talking today, we were talking about how we've grown this community very, very large. It's because sometimes when you're at the bottom of the ocean and you're the light, all the fish go to it, right? And so that's really what you have to view when you break out and you start to really make start to make the light. You start to post on Facebook, you start making YouTube videos, you start connecting with people, you start advertising. It's because you have to literally make your own path because if those people around you telling you no, have you ever seen them living in a mansion? I want to ask. No, they're not driving Ferraris. With that mind, they are not making it. They're not making it happen. It's funny because I always see the people like that, mom, my coworkers. When I quit
Yeah.
my job, I have to add to what your question was. When I quit my job, it was like all of my old coworkers, remember
Mm-hmm.
that, mom? They
Yes.
were on Facebook with me.
Yes.
They got so nasty and
Oh yeah.
jealous. It
Yeah,
was
people
it
will
was
get really,
just
really hateful. Yeah, you'll
I
get more congratulations when you get a new job versus a home-based business. It's a fact. It's a fact.
hmm hmm
It's a strange thing with humans. They don't want to see, I've gone through to a lot of events in my life and a lot of personal development events. And this is one of the reasons why I love personal development. And we have a ton more coming. Okay. I really feel that it's all personal development on how far I've made it here online because you have to work on yourself. Okay. It is the number one asset is to work on yourself. But anyway, what Rob's trying to say though is like you literally have to get out of your own way. Like I had a mentor one time that told me you got to get out of your own way. Because if you don't think that you can do it, then you might as well just go and get a job. You know what I mean? That's the other thing. Not everybody is meant to be an entrepreneur. You
Yep.
know, and we're saying that, it's the choice is yours, but I'm saying like the methodology, it's not always the how to, because we have the how to. It's the
Mhm.
implementation of it. So I think it's
That's a
important for
perfect point.
people to hear it from your perspective, because you went from I don't think I can do it, to
Oh
now you
gosh, you guys, I mean, you have literally, it's like
I have no idea what you went through, the
if I
struggle.
could put a movie together, you guys would be like, is this Rocky 2.0? I mean,
Yeah,
it's insane the things that you go
pain that
through.
he went through.
I mean, it's like
And even
alone.
seeing me doing it, he still had that blockage.
Oh, it literally, I mean, you're talking with money. It was like, the whole 2018, I lived off of savings. I didn't live, I just kicked back and just it kept draining the bank account. I'm looking around and I'm like, until I had this nasty pain point called looking at the bank account and going, wait a minute, what the, what? And then you guys started just like, mom knows this, like on the software development and everything at the age of what was it back then? Was it
That's
24-ish?
one thing we should talk about. He launched this Facebook tool and he had a partner, and the partner actually screwed him over. I
Yes.
mean, if you want to hear some real stuff, talk,
Yeah.
he'll interview me about my 12 years and what I've gone through, the rocky roads, and what MLM companies took my checks, what MLM companies
Yeah.
took my silver bars. But
Oh
he'll
my
do
gosh.
that.
So
But
you want
Rob,
to
I
ask me
mean,
about,
he
you want to ask me about
literally,
that with the podcast? That's wow. That's amazing. And we're actually making good time. We're only 45-ish minutes in.
yeah, we figured we'd do
We're
in an hour.
it's good. Yeah, we're on time.
You want me to
But
ask that one question? What would
yeah,
you be doing if you didn't do and work with me online with digital marketing?
in
What
in in
occupation do you think you would have picked?
in an instant I'd be an actor.
Hmm,
I would. I totally
really?
would.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I feel that I can mold and become the situation pretty easy. A lot of my friends, when I go into a room, I don't pick out what's wrong with the room. I want to pick out how to amplify what they like about themselves. And I don't like to pick it apart. There was a guy at a bar one night and he said something about my hair or something. And I go, honestly, man, I said, You're picking that out on me when you have zero knowledge of myself." When I could have actually said a compliment, you probably would have enjoyed it. But you yourself is a reflection of yourself if you have to bring that out and talk about me. And he was like,
I've always
crick.
known that about you.
And so
Actually,
I never began the fight, but I always want to finish it, right? So it's like you ain't gonna that type of thing. So being an actor and that other chosen career, I feel that when you're an actor, you almost have to blend in with what that's about. So it's like you can't really resist much. Like we watched that one movie, Mom, with the iron claw and building, bodybuilding. Example is Zac Efron. He's actually one of the guys I like. I really do. But what I looked in his story is he started, doing a lot of bodybuilding, right? I mean, talking really a lot with acting and stuff, but actually real life. And you know what he said is he got so depressed because he saw everyone else around him, right, Mom? Like, with, people that make money online and they get
yeah.
kind of like, wait a minute, other people. But then he started to go, wait a minute. He figured it out. They weren't taking the action themselves, so why should he feel bad about him rising? And that was where, with the acting, like you said, if it was an alternative, it would be, it's because I feel and I'm grateful for what I've figured out in my own mind that I'm worth it. So that's where I think I could produce really good movies.
Okay. That's really good. And I think you almost do it in a sense with Get Fearless Freedom. Like,
Hmm.
because you've produced a 7-minute video that's converting for everybody. And let me just kind of share that. So this is what Rob does. This is his work, and this is literally genius, because we'll come up with an idea. By the way, this is my most recent co-op ad that we have running in the newspaper, but he'll come up with an idea, for example, for Get Fearless Freedom. One second here. We'll go right here to this video. So this is the video where Rob said, "Hey mom, why don't you go and talk about where you used to be a top sponsor?" So we went to the casino, right? We recorded there, and then he literally clipped out all these different clips. So this is why I say that I wouldn't be able to do Get Fearless Freedom and have this video, or this whole company if it wasn't for him. Because I have a programmer. The programmer does a great job and he puts these sites together. So, but Rob edited this video, for example. So yeah, if we all of a sudden, he'd be going into acting. That's good to know, Rob. But seriously, like he did this video. So he edited the 20-minute video. And so can you share with people what software possibly? Maybe they
Yeah,
want to know.
I believe I'm co-host, right?
Yep, I think. Let me make sure. So he makes these videos, he edits them on his computer. I think it's genius, that he does
I
this.
really, really love like it's like I think on here and this is a podcast, so audience is quiet. But Tammy, hook me up. Think someone to me into Hollywood. Just kidding. I
Yeah,
joke
she's in
around, but
California.
hook me up. I really
That's
would.
why I told him, I said, do a YouTube
Yeah.
channel and
Yep.
start building your audience, which by the way, I'm gonna have you guys subscribe to Rob's channel. He'll put it here in the chat and I'll put it in my YouTube channel. But yeah,
So I'm going to show
if you
you. Sure,
haven't
I'll show
subscribed,
my
we're teaching
screen.
people the end of the month by the
Oops,
way.
I didn't mean that. Okay, I did not mean that AI thingy, whatever.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, like my screen, this is a video editing software I personally we used for GFF.
Mm-hmm.
It's for Mac, it's also for PC, but it's called DaVinci Resolve. And this is like some high-tech video editing software. And what you do is, you import the media, and then the media has edits. You can do fusion, different things like colors, and you can change. That's what we were doing. We changed a lot of, mitigated the background noise best we could. You can't always take out like real life stuff. But you can see here this is the timeline. This is actually what I have to work with. I have to do transitions. See how it transitions over. We have like the alert, like the actual wording. So you click here. If you click up around here, you're gonna see it. Essentially, I'd have to get more into it. But anyways, you can see I kind of scrub through and then look, it shows like this. These are the overlays. So this is the stuff that like, when I put together the video, we did all the screenshots, all the people joining. When I did this, mom actually originally, she's like, okay, really a Lamborghini? I go, Mom, hear me out. This is a producer thinking. This is a producer. The problem with online, and you guys are gonna probably agree, listening as a replay as live, but the problem with online marketing is it's so boring. Like
Boring.
you get in and it's just like that's it, and you hope that maybe some fish is gonna grab the hook and join you as well. But the problem with a lot of the things is that there's no support, there's no community, there's no person to help, there's no fun, exciting program. So, consider yourself blessed to have a real amazing program, and people are watching that are not in, definitely jump on board, because the marketing tactics that we use, the funness that we bring, you have like the Vegas overview. You can see this is 4K
Yeah,
shot
we
footage.
actually went to that Elvis
Yep,
show.
we went.
Hmm.
This was a show we went to. I add little fun things like
Yep.
this stuff. But that's the thing that I like to do. I like we went to the Bellagio. These are the flowers there. People walking around. So the thing is about this video is it's like
Hmm.
it's just like the beginning, really. We have these podcasts going forward. We're about 5 minutes to the hour here, Mom. And,
Yep.
we have a lot of things that are ahead.
We have a lot
Uh,
of things coming up in 2024 planned.
yep.
Absolutely.
And like different stuff like this. But really what we ask, the audience is to get out there, to be that change as well. Because, you see videos like this, right? Where am I gonna this right here? People just walking. How many people wishing they're a millionaire right now? Well, they never took the action, right, to get there. And so I start seeing people like I'm looking at people that are really highly successful, and I'm like, what did they ever do? And they started to actually put themselves out there. They started to post, they started to talk, they started to network, and they started to know that they had something that they could rely on back. They had a community, they had a gym membership that they always went to, things like that. They actually did it. And like with business and working with my mother, really to wrap it up, is with working with her was I found out the hard way. And that's why tonight for the first podcast, I go, please don't learn the hard way. What I went through, there was a lot of just like in my head, like I don't know if I'm worthy of it. I mean, I literally be like, I would see money come in and I'd be like, I'd cringe. I'd be like, I don't know if I even, and then you know what? Here comes the reality. Bills, they don't quit, right? Bills never stop. And so that's when mom just got through to me one time and she goes, listen, you are worthy and you're meant and you're created for a great purpose. And I go, whoa, wow,
Yeah.
that's true. And that is where I began working online, and I actually began, working in the background and helping her. And then a lot of the amazing other things that we're gonna do, we're actually in the future probably gonna mom edit this a little bit, but make it kind of it's really popping. I mean, it's
Yeah, we're
obviously
always editing it. I mean, the thing is, a 7 minute video. It could be 8 minutes. I mean, because everybody always asks, what is the compensation plan? It's so simple that people actually don't believe it. It's where you make 200, 500, and $1,000 commissions 100%. So
hmm
there's so many of these other companies out there where you're making a tiny, teeny percentage of the sale.
right here in the end.
Yep, that people are just like, I can't believe you're actually paying that much out, and it's only 47 a month for us to actually host all of our pages. Like I say, a lot of people use these pages for other opportunities. And you can certainly do that. But, for me, I want people to remarket GFF because that obviously helps grow the community. But that
hmm
was great. I love the fact that you've shared an authentic, what's the word? Authentic,
Authentic.
can't say it, authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah, tonight. And you've revealed a lot of stuff, and I just think it's important for people to know that we're just human just
Just
like
hu-
anyone
just
else.
just human. I mean, ultimately, where I looked at, people taking upon that, and they actually began was actually just recent with YouTube for me. I recorded a video. Now it's funny with a podcast, I'll keep talking. I'll have like just like a perfect, in my own thinking, I'm like, okay, I think I did pretty well. Obviously, everything is, but it's just like when I record myself, I'm like, so today, and I'm like, man, like that. I'm like,
Yeah.
literally, like,
He does a
I'm
great job on the Monday Zooms, but when he sits down to go do a video, he's like, what do I say?
right.
And I'm just
Yeah.
like, believe me, I get it. Like I
Yeah.
used to be the same way. Like when people think that, oh no, I gotta do a video, like they freeze. Like I used to freeze. I used to say, oh no, I gotta get on a video or I gotta talk or whatever. I mean, I used to freeze.
Yeah.
Rob, do you remember when Bruce Bloomer said to me, hey Tammy, you're doing so well in this company. I'd like you to come on. This was in 2010,
Mm-hmm. It was
2012.
back. It
It was
was
back a ways.
it was
And
way
he
back.
asked me to come on to the 800, yeah, actually it was just the 800 line at the time. And he said,
It's
can you
interesting
come on and
how amazing I just want to put this guys in perspective of the humbleness of my mother, and I'm only going to talk it in regards of this is like that third person viewpoint. But my mom actually has been in the industry longer than 12, just to let you know. She's done like light work in the background, like kind of how I was, but she's always had that like awesome, like I call it push forward. And then she started to really get in and tap online around that 2011-ish mark, mom right around there is really when I start seeing it. But even back in like mom 2007, 2008, you still were online using that laptop a lot and still trying to figure out what to kind of do. And like you,
Yep.
so it's definitely where you really launched your career out far. And having people on the Zoom, it's awesome to have you guys. It's like really, really great. But we're gonna have more of these. We're gonna have more topics. Not just gonna talk like this. We're gonna have other other really good topics to talk
Yeah,
about.
we can interview whoever wants to be interviewed. Who wants to go next?
Hmm.
Who wants to be interviewed next? See, what I think Rob and I are trying to say tonight is that eventually when we decided that we want to do this full time for a living, okay, we just realized that we were going to have to get out of our shell and just realize that if we wanted to become the top income earners in any company that we chose, which obviously now it's Get Fearless Freedom, it's our own company, but I'm saying when we decided that, we knew we were going to have to talk. I knew I was going to have to get on that 800 number. I sounded like an idiot. I didn't even know what a capture page was back then. I didn't even know what an autoresponder was back then. You know,
Right.
I didn't know what a solo ad was, a Craigslist ad. Now we're showing people and we have it all in the back office of GFF. So I think people got to realize that this has been an evolution, but you don't have to know everything. You can literally start making money day one. We've had people literally start sharing the website and instantly, like this,
Literally.
make
No.
money.
Yeah, it really comes
That's
down
the
to
cool part about what we have put together.
light little wrap up. And we don't want to, podcasts can go on over hours. I've seen it, but I really want to, the great thing is really you're ultimately seeing it's time freedom mom and I have. And we can be on a night like this and actually talk and have that because it's really good content. It's good content. It's good help. Maybe it brings light to another person
Yeah,
trying
I
to.
hope this was helpful for people. Has it been helpful?
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to know if
Let us
it's
know.
a better perspective than just Zooms, because Zooms are very, I call it the censored
Structured.
version of me, very, non-flowy. But yeah, it really ultimately what I love about the whole thing with GFF and what we've built is ultimately it's like people like Christina, that you call up and say, hey, you've really helped me and you've kept me motivated, things like that. That's what keeps us going. Or like, a message, here and there from Tammy, and she's like, hey, nephew, and then this is like, oh, that's awesome, and then Terrence, and he'll be like, hey, sir, you're doing awesome. He always calls me sir. I appreciate the formalness, but it's like he's like, he's like, hey, that, well, etc. So, things like that, and I hear the feedback from people because a lot of you guys, we haven't met you, but it's like I have met people in real life. And in fact, last year, mom, remember that? It was one guy, I was at shopping, and he goes, Robert, is
Oh
that
yeah, he actually recognized you online. There you go.
yeah.
There's your brand. He's like, Robert Montgomery from
Mhm.
Facebook.
Yeah.
And he ran in and he recognized Rob. So I mean, it's so funny, you know. I actually was at a live event like 4 or 5 years ago, and just because I was on video and on Facebook, Tammy Montgomery, the fearless mama, you know. So I mean, it's really quite amazing. You know what I mean? It's fun. It's enlightening, and we just have a great time. So let me just I'm getting a couple direct messages here.
Any questions
Take down your let me take
that
down your
they have
number,
for me? My mom
you
asked
know.
me questions, but I didn't know.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go off of my YouTube and hold on a second here. Let me just end the recording on YouTube and then I'll be able to look at my direct messages. So anyway,
Hmm.
if by the way, I'll end the YouTube by saying if you want any more information, and you've been brought here by either myself, Rob, or one of my members, just make sure you get back to them. Click the link below. You'll see the 7-minute video. You'll be able to get on that. And then of course, every Monday we have our normal Zooms, and you can come, and next Monday, this coming Monday, we'll have another one at 8 p.m. Eastern. Okay. So I just wanted to say that before I ended my live stream. So thanks, Rob, for letting me interview you. Maybe we'll do Christina next time. That'd be fun. We'll do a member, whoever wants to volunteer, we'll have it on your YouTube channel. Alrighty, so I'm just gonna end the live stream. I'm gonna still stay on here, and I just have a couple questions to get answered here. One sec. Okay, so I'll stop the recording too.